Basil, thank you, Jess.
Record on this computer. All right, it is recording. So
All
whenever
right.
you are ready, I've got my form ready to go.
All right, great. Starting with 1.0, we're going to focus on users and event list view. The problems are kind of start off with our overarching problem. There isn't a solution for residents and local communities to find events in their immediate area. And then also, since we don't have, it's a green light project, we don't have any way to track or store users yet. So those are the two problems we address initially. We're going to create an event where we can display cards from our database that will convey data that is title, description, times, who's created it, and then like location, images, and event URLs. And we'll be able to display that in a list view. Clicking on a card will lead to a single view, event view, and that view will be available to both public-facing users and logged-in registered users. And here are our objectives and key results on that first part there.
Ben, can you remind me which disciplines you have, which programs you have on this project? Is this just web and UX?
No, we've got a full team. We're going to have iOS and Android as well. We've got UX, web.
Gotcha, but no data science.
That's correct. Sorry about that. Yeah, no data science.
Great, web. Okay, cool. This looks good. You want to talk me through your next couple of release canvases?
Absolutely. Here's 1.1. We're going to do full event CRUD for that. Logged in users will be able to create an event. We've got, apologize, I thought I had a JSON data object here.
That would have been too low level for a release canvas, no big deal.
Okay, heard. Great. Then yeah, just the ability to fully edit, create, delete any events.
And then the next release canvas would be?
RSVP for events and viewing like events that I am currently RSVP'd for, and also building in a view for administrators to see what, or event planners, whoever created the event, to see how many people have RSVP'd and who.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And then do you have a fourth release canvas, or is that the third?
We do. Yeah, we started here with getting our the first part of our map view up, starting to work through like our Mapbox and Turf.js geo reasoning, so that we can initially have users find something within a certain radius of them is the initial plan.
Got it.
And that's what this details right here.
Okay. So Ben, can you remind me what is it that makes Community Calendar like distinct in terms of like the overall product vision? Like
sure.
The features you've shown me right now are pretty much like vanilla event system.
Absolutely.
What does it
set apart? What sets us apart is the ability to kind of focus more on our immediate areas, our regions, our locales that are neighborhood specific, as opposed to having to fight all of the noise of like social media, where you're going to also see every garage sale and child's birthday party. This is going to be more like community events that would be important to like the municipality, like say City of Detroit has so many neighborhoods, and this is where we would go to see what's happening in that neighborhood. That makes sense.
Gotcha. So they're more, it's like hyper local or whatever.
Exactly. Where Meetup is more based in interest, this would be more based in an immediate location.
Gotcha. Okay. So what I'm looking at when I'm looking at these features then is I'm wondering how we can get to some of that distinctive functionality earlier.
Sure.
So and the reason for that is, you know, we don't want to end up labs with you guys having basically replicated Yahoo events or whatever. Right. And it's like, yeah, it's a Yahoo events clone. Well, what makes it different? Well, it's hyper local, but we haven't built any of those features yet.
Sure.
So I wonder if there's a way that we could kind of maybe pull some features forward or something. So what it sounds like in that first release canvas, are y'all planning on seeding the site with events for specific neighborhoods as well?
That's correct. Yes, it'll be dummy data for the first canvas, and then at full CRUD after.
I didn't mean dummy data. I mean like real data.
Like yes. Sorry, hard-coded data, not dummy data.
Gotcha. Or data that you manually create in the background.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Cool. So if you're planning on doing that, then so I'm always thinking in terms of release canvases, what value do they deliver to the user?
Sure.
right? They don't deliver value to the user, then it's probably either it's like the release canvas is too small and we need to like
Hmm.
put some features in it that actually do deliver value, or
Yes.
it could be just the entirely wrong feature, right? Like
Okay.
it's not a release canvas, it's something else, you know, that doesn't deliver value. Um, so if I were to sign up for your site and I could see events, just see events, not create them, then it would be valuable in the sense that I now know what's going on without having to like go somewhere else and search for it. So if I had real events in my area, that would be valuable. But I wonder if that hyper local, like focusing on your immediate area, should be
Hmm.
like the very next feature,
Sure.
as opposed to like several features down the road where you might get to it in release canvas 4. Is what
Sure.
that's what it looked like from what you were presenting.
Sure. We did initially have much heavier release canvases with a lot more features in them. This got slimmed down yesterday. We may have gone a
Mhm.
little too slim, but I do understand that, yeah, that would make a lot of sense to
Thing that I
take
think
this.
is too slim, Ben, I think it might
Mm.
be out of order.
Sure. Sure.
And so
Okay.
like the ability, so for example, for me as a user, do I get more value out of the ability to create, read, update, delete, like add new events? Or do I get more value out of being able to see what's happening next door? The
So
whole
if we were
is
to
what happens next door, right?
So if we were to focus on getting this backend coordinates and map view done instead of point 0.3, maybe point 0.2, or even merging it into point 0.1, that would be more applicable.
I think so. And here's the way I'm thinking about it. So I would we had another events team that was, again, like events platforms are a dime a dozen, but a lot of them have very specific focuses, right? And I
Sure.
love y'all's hyper local focus. I think that's awesome, or neighborhood based focused or whatever. The event platform we had in, I think, Labs19 was around going to do things with small groups of people in person. So it was like a community, like an event calendar, or community-oriented events for like introverts, like people who don't want to go to like a massive crowd or party,
Getting people to engage. Yeah.
and finding people who will go with you. That was
Cool.
my thing. It's like I need somebody to go with me to this thing. I would, as an introvert, I would never go alone. And so
Right.
like, I don't know anybody who would go. So it was a very different focus. But the way they handled putting off RSVP, so they wanted to focus on some of that functionality that made them unique. Well,
Sure.
if you're building an event system, you kind of need an RSVP system too. And so we talked back and forth about how they could test, like implement some of these things that set them apart and made them distinct before building an RSVP system. So what they chose to do was just put on each event, have contact information for the event organizer. So whether it was an email or a phone number. And that way you could get in touch with them outside of the system
Sure.
and, you know, find out any additional information that you wanted to. And we didn't have to build like messaging and RSVP and all that kind of stuff into the event system until later. And instead they could focus on what made them unique, which was finding one or two other people to go with to this thing.
And we've still got our users closer to the goal earlier in the cycles too. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so that's something you can consider. The way that you guys have them organized right now is fine. It's acceptable. Like there's nothing wrong with it. And I think they
Sure.
are about the right size. They each deliver unique value to the user of, you know, being able to log in and view events that somebody else has created, being able to create my own events, being able to RSVP and see people who have RSVP'd, and then being able to view it on the map. Those are like the four releases you have. Each one of those provides unique value, but I'm just wondering if you can reorder them a little bit. So.
Thank you for that feedback. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. So in terms of like next steps, feel free to, like I said, you guys have everything here that you need.
Good.
So I don't need to, whatever decision that you make in terms of how you want to reorder them, I trust y'all as a team to make that decision. You've thought about this far longer than I have. I've been thinking about it for about 10 minutes, and you've thought about it for hours. So whatever decision you make, I trust you guys as a team. So, you know, think about it. And if you want to reorder it, great. If you don't, that's fine too. But I think these release canvases, at least on the website, look great to me.
Thanks so much.
No problem. Do we have time to go through the iOS and Android release canvases? I think I had heard that they're fairly close to like mirroring one another.
Yes, they're very similar, but I can show you if you'd like.
Yeah, sure. Let's go through one set of them and talk about
them. Okay. So we got a few of them here. Pretty similar to what Ben said. Our first one is going to be, and I'm just covering the Android one, but the first one is going to be user login and event list. So the idea is that I mean, we have a pretty crack shot team, so I'm sure they'll get the back end done within a good amount of time. But just in case, we may have to use like hard-coded users or like temporary users. So we're, users are unaware of the events that are going on around them. That's a problem that we have, and so we're trying to solve that. And so we'll have some events, I would say mock events. You bristled a little bit at that. So perhaps it'll be the data that we get from the back end. Just depends on if it's up or not. If not, then it's going to be something that that we'll be able to hard code into the app.
Got it. Okay.
So of course you'll be able to log in, and because it's a phone, you can open up using an intent. You can open up the map app and the calendar app in order to add something to a calendar, or to look at directions for where a specific event is located.
Okay. So what we're looking at for Release Canvas 1, if I can repeat back to you what I heard you say, you said we're going to be able to view events and sign up and sign in, and then be able to deep link out from that event to a map app or a calendar app, which is basically just like clicking on the address or clicking on the date. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
What's the next one?
Okay. So the next one is going to be the actual CRUD event. So this is when we're really pulling the data from the back end. And perhaps we're going to be creating a new user type, or the same user type, but just with more functionality. So
can you show it to me at the same time? Sorry, that way I can be reading while you're talking.
So right here, a new user type, coordinator, admin. We haven't really come up with the terminology yet. But
Screen's frozen, Basil.
My screen is frozen.
Yeah, I'm still seeing Release Canvas 1, the very first one. Solution, mock events, events detailed. That's what I'm seeing.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Can you see it now?
I do see, yes. Yes, I do. Yep.
Okay. So we're in the event CRUD. Sorry about that.
No worries.
New user type, coordinators / admins, full control over events, and then of course the actual CRUD features like creating, reading, updating, deleting events. So this is when the user will actually have full control to go over a new event or to modify it as they see fit.
Okay. What's next? What's the next one?
Okay. So the next one, to filter and RSVP events. So now we'll be able to actually sign up for an event, RSVP for that, so that you register, so that the planners will know that people are going to it. Also filter it. So let's say you want to just look at events that are really close to you. Obviously it's a community calendar, but or you want to look at just maybe events that have to do with children or something like that. So we're going to have filtering in there, and as well as searching for different events.
Okay.
And of course you can unattend if you would like as well by canceling your RSVP.
Okay, so that'll be filtering, seeing events near me, and RSVPing.
Right.
Okay. What's the next to Release Canvas?
Okay.
If you have
next one, we're still working on it a little bit, but we can show you.
No, it's, you don't even have to jump into it. Is it just at a high level?
Yes. So the map view. So now, because I mean, we decided not to do the map view already because everyone has a map on their phone.
Right.
However, for the map view, we're actually going to have it integrated into the app. Either it's another tab, or it's somewhere in the details of the event. The idea is that we're going to be able to visually place pins of all of the events on the map, so you can see visually where all of the events are located. And so if you're on foot, or you don't have a lot of you can't get to someone somewhere far away, you can just say, okay, this was near me. I can just go directly to it.
Got it.
That'll just
okay. Couple questions for you guys. So one, I'll ask them. I'm going to flip the order that I had in my head. Okay, so the first question would be, it seems like I would ask the same question of the iOS and Android device of like, how do you get to the distinctive features that make Community Calendar different faster? So like, I'm not sure that CRUD and new user type on like as your second feature canvas is maybe the most valuable way to order things. That might be something you might want to enable later. But when I imagine what you guys are describing, and I just imagine the experience of like I downloaded your app from the App Store. I feel like the first thing I want to see, like when I is like a big freaking red button that says "Show me events near me," and I tap it, and it literally has just a list of events with like, you know, and then one of the biggest things in that, the name of the event, and then like one of the biggest things in that list is like number of feet it is away from me. And my like current, you know, like
so that,
400.
the first one will give that.
So
yeah. So the first one is the event list.
Oh, okay. You didn't specify that. You just said event list. You didn't say it would be ordered by near you. Got it. Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah.
So you're going to order it by events.
Yeah, and you're right. A lot of this is kind of relying on the back end because the back end is going to have a lot of that data.
Yeah.
But it'll a lot of the functionality will really come out once we get here or to the release canvas 2, once the user can start adding their own events and it can start really multiplying organically that way.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that, do y'all think that, I'm on a call. Do y'all think that CRUD is more valuable than RSVPing and filtering? I feel like, so this is the way I view things at a very high level. Like platforms have things that they're good at and things that they're not good at. Mobile is really good for browsing and consumption. Like desktop platforms, web platforms are really good for like admin type things generally. Like data entry is way better on like a laptop than it is generally on a phone, unless you're doing like really simple data entry, like entering one number, right? I just imagine like event organizers having to like type in all the information with 2 thumbs. And I'm like, is that the best use of time? What if you guys were to put that off entirely and not have that be a mobile feature for a while? Is there a reason why, I'm asking honestly, like, is there a reason why y'all chose to add that to the mobile roadmap as well? Because you feel like it's like you've done user research and you feel like it's an integral part of like the user experience to have that be part of the mobile?
Yeah, well, we kind of want to have the features be in parity with you know, with the web. But you're totally right. I mean, on the mobile, it's better for consumption, and trying to type in on the small screen is not the most conducive to you know, the screen size. But
well, something to think about is like, how can you use each platform for what it's best at, rather than like feature parity is usually, like if you look at most websites out there, especially when they get started, when they launch their app, they don't aim for feature parity. They aim for complementary features of like, hey, these features
right.
are so much, but this experience is so much better on the mobile. Like we're going to make, you know, really double down on the mobile experience. It's only when products are really mature that they hit, like Airbnb, where they've been working on it for 10, 15 years. And I'm not even sure if that product has feature parity on mobile versus desktop. I'm not sure you can create properties, for example, on mobile. I don't know. Has anybody done that? Has anybody like added a new property on an Airbnb on their mobile device?
Much easier on the web for sure.
Probably, yeah, probably easier on the web. So anyway, it's something to think about. Again, what you guys have laid out looks fine. I think you thought through it. They're sized appropriately correctly. The feature 1.2 makes me a little bit nervous in that you have filtering and RSVPing in the same thing. That feels like that should be 2 release canvases. At the very least, not from a size perspective, but because they're unrelated features that each deliver distinct value to the customer. So the ability to filter events is uniquely valuable in and of itself. It has nothing to do with RSVPing. The ability to RSVP for events is uniquely valuable and has nothing to do with filtering. If you could do either one of those and not the other, it would be valuable, and you should ship it.
Mm-hmm.
Which
yeah.
makes me, if you can add, if that's the way, so that's one way to look at release canvases instead of by size, is if these 2 things that are both in the same canvas are uniquely valuable and unrelated, then you should split them apart. So that would be my only feedback on the ones that you guys actually wrote. But yeah, take some time and think about how you might order those differently. And again, like I'm not saying you have to. I'm only asking the question to get y'all to think about it as a group.
Yeah, that's definitely some valuable feedback. I think we found that the release canvases looked a little bit small, and so we're like, well, let's just try to pump them up a little bit by adding some extra stuff in there.
Yeah, no, I'd love to see you ship 5 or 6 release canvases in Labs. That would be a huge win. getting into that rhythm of shipping regularly. Like the best teams, the best software teams that I know of in industry are shipping the equivalent of a release canvas every 4 or 5 days. And so that's actually a really healthy rhythm to be in. So.
Okay, very cool.
All right. Unfortunately, we're a minute over. Do y'all have any last minute questions for me that that if I can't answer them now, we can set up a meeting later to talk about it?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Do y'all have any last minute
I
questions that
think-
we need to set up a meeting to talk about later?
I think we're probably good, Jess.
Okay, cool. Well, you guys are ready to go. Take one, revisit as a team, talk about priority, talk about whether any of them should be split. But I trust you guys to make a decision and kind of move forward.
All right,
Thanks so
thank
much,
you.
Jeff.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. Next we have Tally